Chapter 1: Red Zone Standard. The humidity at the airfield was thick enough to chew on, but the air inside the transport truck was even worse. It smelled of stale sweat, cullop gun oil, and the sharp, metallic tang of nervous adrenaline. Staff Sergeant Miller gripped the handrail as the truck hit a curb, jarring the 12 soldiers sitting in the back. They weren't looking at each other. Most were staring at the floorboards, or checking the seals on their masks for the 10th time. 2 minutes out. The driver yelled through the small window. Miller stood up, his boots echoing against the metal floor. Listen up. The RARO has changed. Forget everything you heard this morning. This isn't a riot control mission anymore. If they are running at you, they are a threat. If they ignore a verbal command, they are a threat. Sergeant, a young specialist named Arispe, called out, his voice cracking. The radio said they don't stop, even if you hit M center mass. That's why we're going for the head, Miller said, his voice flat and steady. One controlled shot. If you miss the head, take out the legs. If they can't run, they're just meat. We're here to hold the perimeter of the medical center until the last transport clears. We don't move until that clock hits 0. The truck screeched to a halt. The back gate dropped with a heavy clang, revealing a world that had gone to hell in less than 48 hours. The street ahead was a graveyard of abandoned cars, doors flung wide, engines still idling. Smoke rose in thin black ribbons from the direction of the waterfront. Then came the sound. It wasn't a moan. It was a frantic, wet screeching like a pack of starving dogs. Movement. 2 o'clock. Arispe screamed. From behind an overturned SUV, 3 figures emerged. They didn't stumble. They sprinted with a terrifying, jerky athleticism, their limbs flailing but their direction absolute. One of them, a male in a torn business suit, had a broken arm swinging uselessly at his side, the bone protruding through the skin. It didn't slow him down. He hit the asphalt with the speed of a varsity sprinter. Identify your targets, Miller shouted, bringing his rifle to his shoulder. The lead runner was 50 yards away, 40. 30. The speed was unnatural, animalistic. Pop, pop. Miller's first 2 rounds caught the lead runner in the chest. The impact slowed the creature for a fraction of a second, its body jerking back, but it didn't fall. It simply leaned forward and pushed off again, teeth bared in a snarl that was more a spasm than a sound. The head, Arispe. Focus. The specialist fired a single shaky shot. The runner's head snapped back, the crown of its skull disintegrating. The body collapsed instantly, its momentum sending it sliding across the pavement like a downed motorcyclist until it thudded against the truck's tire. The other 2 were closing. One took a round to the hip, its legs snapping outward. It tumbled hard, flipping over itself. It tried to get back up, but with a shattered femur, its terrifying speed was gone. It began to crawl, dragging its lower half with a relentless, frantic clawing of its fingernails against the road. The third one didn't stop. It leaped over its fallen comrade, eyes wide and clouded with a milky film, reaching for Arispe's throat. Miller didn't think. He pivoted, tracked the movement, and squeezed the trigger. The world went quiet for a heartbeat as the creature dropped in a heap at the edge of the gate. Miller lowered his weapon, the barrel smoking in the humid air. He looked down the street. Hundreds more were emerging from the shadows of the tree line, drawn by the sound of the gunfire. They were all running. We can't hold this with just carbines, Miller shouted over the growing chorus of screeches. Get the M240 up, now. Arispe and another soldier scrambled to the back of the transport. They hauled out a heavy steel tripod and a long olive drab soft case. They dove behind a line of sandbags that had been hastily stacked near the medical center's main gate. Set it deep, Miller commanded, firing a 3-round burst that dropped a runner mid-stride. Cover them. The rest of the squad stepped up their rate of fire, creating a temporary wall of lead to buy the gun team seconds. The metallic clack, clack, clack of the tripod legs, locking into place, sounded like a heartbeat in the chaos. Arispe swung the weapon onto the mount, his hands slick with sweat as he slammed the pintle bolt home. The belt of 7.62 millimeters ammunition looked like a row of brass teeth in the afternoon sun. Arispi's teammate flipped the feed tray cover open, laid the belt across, and slapped it shut with a definitive, heavy thud. Miller stepped back, standing just behind the gunner's shoulder. The first line of the swarm was barely 20 yards away. One of the creatures, a woman in a tattered sundress and a shredded calf, muscle trailing behind her, but she was still keeping pace, her eyes fixed on Arispe. "Ready," Arispe yelled, his finger hovering over the trigger, his shoulder braced against the stock. Miller looked down the street at the hundreds of shadows, still pouring out of the tree line. The speed of the individual was terrifying, but the speed of the collective was a death sentence. He placed a hand on Arispe's shoulder, feeling the young soldier's tremors subside as he locked into the optic. "Wait for it," Miller hissed, his eyes tracking the lead runner. "Wait until they bunch up at the bottleneck." The woman in the sundress leaped, her fingers clawing at the air just inches from the sandbags. "Clear hot," Miller roared. The M240 erupted, a rhythmic, bone-shaking roar that drowned out the screams of the infected and the panic of the city. A strobe light of muzzle flash illuminated the street, and the first chapter of The End of the World was written in a spray of brass and lead.